Okay, so today a lot of cool stuff in the video. So, but before we get there, I am coming up on my 48th birthday, and even though I'm not, well, at least I don't think I'm over the hill. I'm no spring chicken either. And I was thinking the other night that I'd like to have a mohawk. I think that'd be pretty cool. So I had somebody help me with it, and it didn't quite work out. It was pretty much a catastrophic failure. So it wasn't in the center of my head. And so for a minute there, I was thinking maybe I could salvage this and do the mohawk sideways, and then like an Amish beard, and get some ring action. But then I'd look like a goofy, strung out lion. The only thing I'd need to complete the look would be like a sunburn and a missing tooth. But yeah, so I actually have a buzz cut, which I haven't had since I was a young teenager, and I'm trying to come to terms with that today. But one thing that I wanted to talk about a little bit today is that probably many of, oh, there's glass everywhere. Okay, so you're probably familiar with the expression that when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And I can definitely relate to that, because while I'm going through this building, looking through all the junk and the stuff that's not junk, and trying to separate out the stuff that can be useful to me, everything I look at seems like it could be a potential component to a really cool upcycled lamp. But you know, I'm not really like a fan of taking obviously like found objects that were not designed to be lamps, like, you know, a bicycle tire or a fire extinguisher, and making that into a lamp. I like to find sculptural items, little quirky fittings, those kinds of things that you can put together, and as a whole they're kind of greater than the sum of their parts, and they look like in some world they could have been engineered that way to actually create a very useful functional lamp. So what I've done is I've gone through the entire building, and I've tried to pick out a lot of little cool quirky things that I'll be able to use in the future for those lamps, and I'm gonna take you to them and show them to you now. But don't freak out, because there's a lot of stuff, and actually there's a lot of cool stuff, but you've got to have some imagination. And let's go through it, and you can tell me, could you see these parts as a really cool lamp, or have I lost my freaking mind? So let's go check it out. Okay, so here we are, and now you promised not to freak out, right? 'Cause I'm about to show you. So here it is. This is all stuff that I've kind of harvested from around the factory that I think could be helpful in terms of industrial furniture and industrial lamps and that kind of thing. So I think I'll take you through it and show you some of my favorite stuff, and at the end I'm gonna do my top 10 favorite most sculptural things that I found that I think will be great for building industrial lamps. So here we go. Where do I start? Okay, so all over the factory were these heavy-duty electrical switches, and I think that they'd be great just for wiring up. You can see that they've got on and off, and those can be wired to be the control boxes for heavy-duty industrial lamps. So those are pretty cool. I've got some side mirrors for some trucks. They're adjustable, and they'd be pretty cool for like setting on your dresser and that kind of thing. So this thing is pretty cool. This also went on top of a transformer, an electric box, and it's got heavy-duty steel material in it. And there's a mounting bracket here, so I thought it would be great to mount it to a wall, and really cool place when you come in to throw your keys and your change in your hallway if you get an industrial theme going on. Now, in terms of industrial lighting, I have to probably show you the most important thing that I found. I mentioned in an earlier video that the building had lots and lots of halophane lights. And halophane is a company that made industrial lighting. They're probably the most popular or sought after light that you can find. And at one point, the factory here was full of them, but most of them were sold in an auction. There were several auctions, and a lot of stuff from the factory was sold. Halophane came up with this prismatic lighting that gave diffused lighting source, and they were heavily used throughout industry and in factories all over Europe and the United States. So I found a couple of them. There's one there, and here's one here. And so I was really excited the other day when I came across these guys. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 complete ones. And the best thing about them is that they actually have the gallery on top and all of the hardware. So this is kind of mounting stuff that was, or I mean, it could be used, but it can also be removed. But there's the halophane lampshade underneath there, and the gallery with all the hardware and the guts that you need to string it up. Even better, there's one more thing that I wanted to show you, which is that they still have these aluminum housings on them. And these are some hardware brackets that would help mount them to the ceiling, and they fit perfectly in there. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 lights, 5 pieces of hardware. So those are really cool. One of them didn't have the gallery, so I found something somewhere else that I'll use for that. And good to go. Okay, so still going on the halophane train. We've got 4 industrial ceiling lights with the low profile steel trim around them. So those are pretty cool. They would obscure recessed ceiling lights. And they've got that prismatic soft light glass there, heavy duty, really thick glass. So we've got 4 of those. And it's always great to find pieces that are actually industrial lighting and not things that I'm just having to make in order to kind of sell the effect. Those are really cool. And I got one more halophane treasure to show you. Okay. So I haven't brought them back to the room yet, but got another set of halophane lampshades that I wanted to show you. Okay, so here's 3 lampshades, and these are kind of mini ones, and they probably came off of a single chandelier lighting set. And they do have that ultra thick, heavy duty halophane glass, so those are really cool. So we got 3 of those, and I'm working on another video where I'm actually salvaging stuff from around the factory, the more industrial stuff. And I've learned how to use a cutting torch, and I'm cutting lots of things out. And I'm working on that video, so if you're interested in industrial salvage and industrial parts and stuff, stay tuned to the channel, and I'll be releasing that some point in the near future. So like I said before, I'm really into those sculptural items that don't look too forced when it comes to making the lamps, and especially when they come in pairs. So those are really cool. Ultra heavy duty cast iron. And those were valves, I think, but they have a nice bases on them, and that aluminum there is going to have to come off. But yeah, those are pretty cool, and a matching pair. Yeah, anything sculptural is what I'm looking for. So here's some more recessed lighting, and I have my doubts about whether these are halophane. They're kind of not the same quality. I mean, they're heavy glass. But let's see if I can get one here. They're ultra heavy, and they are kind of like a cloudy glass. So they may be, they're so thick that they're definitely old. But I've got several of those kind of porthole style recessed lighting, glass lighting fixture covers. So there are always certain things that I'm looking for. So the first thing that I'm looking for are lampshades. And there's, you know, ready-made lampshades that were actually purpose-built for being lampshades. And then there are other elements. And this is one of the favorite things that I found. This is a turbine, wind turbine from an old heater. And I don't know if you can see that, but it's got great color and it's got a lot of character to it and looks ultra industrial. And it's just perfect, just what I'm looking for when it comes to lampshades. And I don't think that you can buy an industrial lampshade as cool as that on Etsy or whatever. It's just perfect. I don't know if you can see this, but always in these old blowers from heaters and air conditioning units, they have these wind turbines in there, and they work really perfect for industrial lampshades. You just got to cut them out of these housings, and they look really cool. Here's an old paper punch and cast iron tape dispenser that came from the local post office, and it's setting on an old wire wheel, which is got some advertising on it, Westinghouse. And I thought that would be pretty cool just to dismantle the wheel and keep this piece of advertising. Turner rope, Westinghouse, and then it's got a leather patch. Back in the day, things were so well made that even the labels were made out of leather. So that's pretty cool. And I did find a General Electric store display that was really falling apart, but I decided to salvage the sides because they had those graphic signs on them. So the next thing that I'm looking for when I'm working on my lamps is the galleries, or those are the things that sit up on top of the lampshade that hold the electrical kind of guts of the lamp. And they can be kind of the hardest thing to find in terms of finding good ones that look right or that function in the way that you want to. So I'm always looking for different elements. This is actually a sprinkler head, I think. And with a small hole for the cable, that'd be perfect. I'll go back over here. And these cast iron pipe ends that are thread on, they work pretty well. Actually, that fits almost perfect in color and look to that one. You just have to drill a hole in the back to put a hanging loop, and then a hole in the side for the access for the cable and the actual socket. So those are pretty neat. So anytime I see anything that looks like it could be used as a gallery, I save it, because that's actually not going to work because it looks horrible, but you get the idea. Almost none of these lamps actually have the galleries intact. So there are a few of them with the stems there, but they're just, I've got probably 50 or so that I have to locate galleries for. So I'm always on the lookout for those. We got some high voltage ceramic insulators. An electric company went out of business in a nearby town here several years back, and I think these were picked up at auction. And you can see these for sale on eBay for like 400 bucks, but they've been for sale for 2 years and nobody's purchased them. So I think they're going to go into my lamp parts collection. So they're pretty cool, they're pretty giant and heavy duty. So as another example of a gallery, this is an old electric blower, and I'm not sure if it works, and I'm really not interested in that, but this section right here will come off, and it's got access at the top, and it's got the windows, kind of like on those halogen lights, and I will dismantle that from this pump, and it'll go on a really giant industrial lampshade. Okay, so here's a really cool screw jack, and as you turn this crank here, this element here will rise. So I think that would be a pretty cool lamp base. So I did find this pipe clamp here, or pipe vise. So I don't want to do anything with that because I can actually use that to form steel rods and bars in order to make my lamps as well. So I'm going to put that to use. This is an extremely heavy-duty iron or steel pipe coupler. So there's two of them here. Actually, they're bolted together, and it kind of looks like a porthole. So I'm going to separate those two by loosening these bolts and put a mirror in the middle, and I'll have two matching industrial porthole mirrors. So a little overbuilt, but kind of cool. So there are lots of sculptural elements, industrial. I mean, this kind of actually looks like a lamp right here. I don't know what that was. But there are just buckets and buckets and buckets of cool stuff. So the neat thing is that you can look at these items and get some inspiration and I think that, yeah, it twists. And just get inspired and make your own lamp. Some more heavy-duty electrical boxes. These are kind of medium size, but they do also have switches on them, and those are pretty cool. Figure out some way to use those. This came off the wall here. It was for collecting some kind of paperwork. Looks like it's homemade, but it was being used in the factory. There's another. This is like one of those that came out of those blowers there that I mentioned earlier, and that's what it looks like. So perfect industrial lampshade. So not everything that I brought down was for lamps. This is a really cool old industrial coffee maker. So, and it looks to be complete. So I'll have to clean that up and see if it works. These came from an age when I guess keeping your documents was super important. Oh. Here are some heavy-duty steel folder, I guess you'd call them folders. They would go around Trapper Keeper notebooks for keeping records and documents. And yeah, they open up. And I don't know what decade those would have been. I'm thinking probably 1940s or 50s maybe. But super overbuilt for a Trapper Keeper, that's for sure. Honestly, there's just too much here to show you everything and talk about everything. So I think I may just do a quick montage here and show you some cool stuff. And then we'll get to my favorite 10 sculptural things for lamp building that I found. Lampshades. Lampshade. Lampshades. Lampshade. Cricket bucket. Lampshade. 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 Supports for lampshades. Brutalist sculpture lampshade. Weird lampshade. Lampshade! Lampshade! So I found this, and this is an industrial thing for wrapping hose on and storing. And this is not the kind that you get at Walmart or Big Lots. This is like 1/8" steel. And the entire thing weighs about 40 to 50 pounds. So, but it's really cool because when you put it on its side, it's got these mounting tabs here. Heavy duty steel once again. And this spins. And it kind of reminds me of like an old barbershop thing. So I was thinking with this color, I could put like a police station graphic or something on it. Some kind of like torque conversion there. And then maybe an electric motor, and this motor would be overkill. It's too big, but a belt, and then that would rotate this guy with the police graphic, and up here hooked into it maybe like a flashing light that would also rotate. And yeah, that'd be pretty cool. So right now I'm just allowing myself to brainstorm, and let me know if you think I'm out of my mind on some of this stuff. Okay, so I wanted to do top 10 sculptural items that I found around the factory as promised. So let me go ahead and get started with that. And number 10, cast aluminum electrical components. So these are very figural, very sculptural, and they're just kind of, that'd be a great little gallery there. They're very unique, and as you can see, they do have that sculptural quality about them. And the nice thing is they always have lots of opportunities for mounting and securing into the pieces. So here's kind of a cool head for bringing electric into the building. Yeah, cast aluminum, number 10. Okay, number 9. We're going from cast aluminum to cast iron items. These can also be very sculptural, and a lot of this stuff comes from, this is actually a component for a heater. These are valves, so they come from HVAC and plumbing, and yeah, they can be very sculptural. So it comes in all shapes and sizes. So these are some really cool brackets. These were used for the backing plate for a large electrical box. So there's 4 of them, and put together they'll be a great support for some kind of a platform on something. Okay, our next item are heavy-duty steel brackets and mounting hardware. So this is a cast iron, I believe, and these are great for supporting signs, all kinds of signage and advertising. So here's another one that was an element in a large heater. So this is a gas pilot there, but it has mounting bracket holes, and this could be vertical or above or below, and would mount right to the wall, and then the piece of advertising or signage would be either sitting on top of that or hanging below. So really cool. Okay, so our next one is really old iron plumbing and irrigation fittings. So I've got some iron here, some cast aluminum as well, and these can be super sculptural. Check this out. It's got a handle there on it, and the stem of a lamp could come here and then be rerouted out this way. And it's got an adjustable articulating handle there. And then, yeah, just random fittings. And here's a bucket of irrigation hydration valves, and these are really cool. I don't know if this lever can be wired up to actually turn a lamp on and off. A bulb could come right out of there, or you know, it could extend out and then down here to a lamp base. I have a friend who makes Star Wars vehicles, like speeder bikes and stuff. I thought these would be great as throttles on one of those. So, but he suggested that he'd be afraid to use them because they would work so well as levers to turn on and off lamps. So I think I'd have to learn a little bit more about how to wire stuff before that could happen, but cool idea. So the next thing that I have for you are some cast iron little fittings that are actually some kind of a little pipe vise or clamp. If you know what these are, let me know in the comments down below. Okay, so I found several large buckets of these guys. There's some kind of a clamp, not sure what they're used for, but I've got them in different sizes, and I found them, you know, in random places around the factory. And I thought that for somebody who was into welding sculptural stuff or something like that, they would make a great vertebrates for a spinal column. you know, like a Geiger style sculpture. So I'm gonna put those aside, and yeah, they're pretty cool. Here are some other pieces that could work as vertebrates in a sculpture. Boxes and boxes of these as well. But these types of things, they're good. They're electrical conduit, and I'm going to need those. So those will not be going to sculpture. They'll be used for getting wiring up to code around here. So same thing, larger size. Okay, our next item is heavy-duty industrial pipe stoppers. I guess these rubber things would go into a pipe, and then these tabs would screw down and stop a pipe from leaking. But they're all over the factory, and they've got really kind of something about them. Really cool look, very sculptural. A lot of them look like this with these bases on them. That's the part that would go into a gigantic iron pipe, and then would be torqued down to stop the pipe, like I said, from leaking. So those are really cool, and like I said, they're all over the factory, and I just got to figure out how to actually convert them into something cool. Okay, so this is a one-off item, and it's just pretty awesome, and it is cast iron. So you know how those cast iron machine bases are really cool for converting into furniture. This has got a sloping neck on it here, and wide platform for mounting. That could be turned over so it's kind of holding it up, or hanging something down from it. But that's really cool. I'm going to remove this other stuff, hardware from it, and that is a really cool bracket for mounting something to the wall. Right beside it here is an old transformer, and it's got these old steel fins on it. And I spent some time pulling them off. I thought they were really cool because they look like old tin type frames, and those could be used for picture frames. Or I thought about, on some of the larger pieces at my antique booth, I could put a description of an item and a price, and hang it with some kind of old looking paper in it, and those would be awesome. And I've got hundreds of them. I think I've got another transformer up there where I can get more if I need them. So yeah, pretty cool. Okay, and then all over the place here, I come across things that I have no idea what they're used for. These are some kind of a suspension system. We got this compressible spring here, and a mounting bracket there, and a mounting bracket here. So yeah, I mean, the possibilities with that are endless for making a really cool overbuilt heavy industrial segment for mounting either a light or a piece of advertising on there. Those are probably 15 pounds, super heavy, and they've got a look about them, and the best thing is there is a matching pair of those. So okay, so there's really a lot of interesting, unique stuff, but one thing that is super valuable, that has to make the list, may not be too exciting, but believe it or not, it's one of the most important things, and that is lots and lots of random, interesting, quirky fittings. So just these buckets of hardware are super important, because if you get some inspiration to make something, you need these little components, these little fittings, to be able to put it together somehow. So that's something that we are not in short supply of, and it may not be the most inspiring thing to make the list, but they're super critical. This is pretty cool. Ceramic casters, those are pretty old. There's 4 of them there. So, but yeah, random fittings, random hardware. Okay, so I had to stop and move this out into the light because it was just too dark back there. Here's a really cool propane stove. It's a super tiny, probably was in like an Airstream or a camper or something, because it's really small, and it's still got the pilot things. Missing the little grate things that go over the top, but that can be replaced. And it's in barn find condition. It's really dusty, and it's got bird droppings and stuff on it, but it'll clean up really cool. And the inside is super clean, probably never used, I'm guessing. These are super simple. It's just propane to the back and then the valve that turns it on. So I'm sure it works. And if somebody's doing like one of those old vintage teardrop trailers or campers, this would be perfect for that. So, okay, so I brought you up to the 3rd floor because this particular component is a part of a greater whole, and it will need to be extracted. And it's a stovetop from a restaurant. There's a super heavy-duty steel plate there, and these are burners, and they're really cool because they're very square and they're really wide, but they don't have any dimensionality or very little dimensionality from the side. So they've got a flared out bottom here, and perfect for mounting to stand upright. And there's 2 of them, makes a pair. And clean the rust off of that and give them a clear coat, and they'll look great. And then all I have to do is get some lampshades that also have that same kind of dimensionality, very boxy but very narrow depth wise. And those will be great as a pair of lamp, very sculptural. So once again, I'm asking you to use your imagination and have faith that at some point in the future I will actually get around to making some of these projects. So that remains to be seen whether I will or not, but it's fun to dream. Okay, so we're full circle, and that brings us to the big finale. This particular piece is outside, and it's going to take an angle grinder at the least, and maybe a cutting torch. But there are some really cool architectural salvage pieces there that I wanted to share with you. Let's check them out. Okay, so this is a giant dust collector, and there's a ladder over there, and it's about 2 stories high. On a normal house, it'd probably be almost 3. So we're gonna climb up there and show you something really cool. Okay, so there's the ladder. We're gonna climb up there, but on the way I came across this guy, and how would that be for a lamp base? That's pretty cool. It says 1925, great big there. And yeah, it's like a fire hydrant valve type thing. Get the cutting torch for that guy. All right, so here we go. Oh yeah. Okay. So there are 2 things that I wanted to show you while I was up here. Actually 3 things. Well, let's just make it 4. There's some pretty cool stuff up here. So here's a really cool ultra heavy duty torque converter. And I think there's like a lampshade looking thing inside this blower thing right here. This is gigantic and round and has these really cool studs all along it. So I don't know if I can cut that top off and make a tabletop out of that. That would be super interesting. But yeah, this would be great. The whole thing to turn it up on its side and put like a searchlight up on top. And once again, it could be motorized, or you know, it can just be used. You can adjust it and point the light in the direction that you want to. So that is super cool, super overbuilt, industrial, pretty awesome. Here's a cool platform. I'm not sure what I can do with that, but I'll be taking that off and keeping it because it's cast iron. And it's got lots of mounting brackets, which are awesome. And the coolest thing here is this section of the pipe right here. It has this rim on it, and it has a square back on it. So I'll disconnect all these bolts, and I'll use an angle grinder just above this rim, and that will be a super industrial rusted riveted lampshade. And there's actually a matching one here. There's the rim and it goes right there. So, or I could use this side of that rim and it's all dented in. I'll have to reform it. But that rim right there is what makes it. So, yeah, industrial lampshade. Okay, so what do you think? Have I lost my mind? I see lots of potential in this stuff, and the trick is finding the time and the energy to get to it and make something creative with it and see if I can turn a profit. So, yeah. Pretty soon I'll be making a video about industrial salvage elements. So there are big pieces and big items like this stuff here. And I want to take you around the factory and show you some of the things I'm going to be pulling out. And that's going to be a really cool video. After that, I'm going to go back to Poland and I'm going to be sourcing some antiques, because this channel is also about importing antiques from Europe and that process. So yeah, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you soon.